Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to briefly and succinctly talk about the South Node and its meaning in a natal horoscope. As most of you know, I had started and completed the North Node series. I did the North Node and the signs, houses, and aspects, and now I'm going to start on the South Node. Well, the first thing about the South Node is that it's the part that is emphasized, accentuated generally in the first half of one's life, and what is maybe the first 30 years or so approximately. And it's often, I see this as somewhat of a comfort zone for some people. This can be somewhat of a feeling of it's somewhat repetitive and redundancy at a certain point in time for people. And when it hits this point in time, as I stated before, around the age of 30 generally for most people. And it's something due to the fact it gets monotonous because this was emphasized in prior lifetimes, and that's why it can become monotonous for people. Now, the South Node can represent a place where the person feels inadequate, and this can be the area because it is overemphasized. Sometimes it could be to the person's detriment and distract the person from their true mission or their soul's purpose, which is indicated by the North Node. Now, the South Node can be a place where the person consciously or unconsciously may revert back to, whether he or she is cognizant of it or not. And in order to have that true happiness and that success that's associated with the South Node placement, one must work on developing the qualities and attributes that are associated with the North Node, which is the thing that really needs the emphasis and the strong development with. We look at let me give you an example. Like, I'm going to take my chart for instance. Now, in my chart, I have the South Node in Virgo in the 5th house. Now, this could be something where I might have that propensity to be overly analytical, sometimes critical, which is the Virgo, and then sometimes perhaps worrisome in connection with matters connected even with fun and romance, now, which is indicated by the 5th house. Perhaps being somewhat critical of prospective loves has been to my detriment. This could be, I do like brain teasers, and maybe that's why I like that analytical type thing or intellectual challenge with things that are even of a fun nature. But at the same time, where this is not necessarily a bad thing, perhaps even something like this might be considered trivial and can be causing some kind of diversion or distraction to what I really should have been or should be pursuing, which is indicated by my North Node. Now, my North Node is in Pisces and in the 11th house. Now, the compassion and insight, which is Pisces, can be incorporated perhaps into goals and aspirations, which is the 11th house. Now, at this same time, I could experience the fun and enjoyment, which is indicated by the 5th house, by doing the things that are associated with my North Node placement by sign and house. And then I could really understand what details are actually important and which ones are not to obsess over, which is the Virgo part of the South Node thing. So this could mean that I could really find my true enjoyment, which is indicated by the 5th house. So what it really does is, I think when you look at the South Node, it's something that you need to extricate yourself from very strongly, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should eradicate the South Node completely. But what you do is you're going to break away from the South Node enough where you're emphasizing or accentuating the North Node qualities by sign and by house, and then you'll be able to find the happiness which is indicated by the South Node placement, and you can maybe work with the two, can somehow the North Node can somehow help the South Node placement and really find the happiness that is associated with the South Node. So let's take another example. We take somebody that has the South Node in the 7th house. Now this could indicate someone that might have excessive dependency on others in partnerships or relationships, which could be whether it could be platonic and or romantic, and perhaps partners in their lives in the past played such an integral role in them that now they come into this life and there seems to be such a strong maybe dependency on them now, which could carry over maybe to around like age 30, but at some point in time in the latter part of the life, it's like the person will feel compelled generally to extricate themselves from this dependency and be able to break out on his or her own and strive for independence and more self-reliance. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the meaning of the South Node in a natal horoscope. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about the South Node in Aries in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.